You're watching Channel 4. Now, in the season of programmes on Bosnia, an examination of the influences and events contributing to the roots of war.
We'd forgotten that these people, these combatants we call Yugoslavs, were first and foremost Serbs, Slovenes, Croats, or Montenegrins, Christian or Muslim, Catholic or Orthodox. We'd forgotten that it was here that the First World War erupted. We'd forgotten that the name of Yugoslavia had served to obscure those of 6 republics: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Hercegovina, Serbia with its 2 autonomous regions called Vojvodina and Kosovo, and then Montenegro and Macedonia. Prior to 1914, Serbia and Montenegro formed a single kingdom that was allied to Tsarist Russia. Slovenia and Croatia were part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, whose annexation of Bosnia-Herzegovina led to the assassination at Sarajevo of the Austrian Archduke by a Serb, and hence to the First World War. The post-war settlement at Saint-Germain near Paris determined the frontiers of the kingdom of the Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, southern Slavs placed under the rule of the King of Serbia, Alexander I, who also ruled over Montenegro, Vojvodina, and Kosovo. Already within this first Yugoslavia, there were Serbs who dreamed of a greater Serbia ruled from Belgrade, and Croats who dreamed of federation and autonomy. Already the first schism. Croat deputies in parliament railed against the excesses of Serb centralism. In 1928, here, a Serb deputy killed 2 deputies of the Croat peasants, and their leader, Radic. The funeral saw the appearance of flags and emblems of Croatian nationalism. The Croat deputies walked out of parliament, and soon afterwards the seeds of terrorism were sown with the formation of the Ustašis, the Croatian nationalists rebelling against royal and Serbian dictatorship. (1934), the 9th of October, Marseille. Alexander I, smiling and unguarded, has only a few minutes left to live. He is shot down by an Ustaši. The king's body is returned to Belgrade by train. His son Peter is still too young, and so his cousin Paul, another Serb, is appointed regent and travels to Berlin. In the Nazi capital, shy and ill at ease, Paul has the air of a country cousin seeking the assurance of his powerful protector, Adolf Hitler, supremely confident in the exercise of his power and the sway of his charm. With Hitler behind him, Paul feels stronger. But 3 years later, he is overthrown in a coup and replaced by Pierre, the legitimate heir to the throne and a friend of the British. Hitler wastes no time. He calls a meeting of his allies. Soon after, in a train somewhere on the border, Boris III, Tsar of Bulgaria, Chano, Mussolini's son-in-law, Admiral Horthy, the Hungarian regent, and Hitler share the Kingdom of Yugoslavia among themselves. Slovenia is occupied by the Germans and Italians. Serbia goes to the Germans. Kosovo to the Italians. And Vojvodina is shared between the Hungarians and the Germans. Macedonia is given to Bulgaria. Montenegro is placed under a puppet administration, and Croatia, which absorbs Bosnia-Hercegovina, is at last granted its autonomy. April 1941, with Germany and its Italian allies occupying Slovenia and Greater Serbia, sees the return of Ante Pavelić to Zagreb. Pavelić, Croatian nationalist and friend of Mussolini, has spent the last 10 years heading and organizing Ustashi terrorism. On his return, Ante Pavelić enters the parliament in Zagreb and proclaims Croatia an independent sovereign state allied to the Third Reich. Greater Croatia. Now, in the Serb-inhabited regions of Knin and Vukovar, the Ustashi army arrests, kills, or deports large numbers of Jews, Gypsies, and above all, Serbs. The only hope of escaping death or deportation, even for women and children, lay in renouncing their religion and accepting baptism. As many as 700,000 people may have died. Not all Croats were Ustashis, but the memory of this genocide was to haunt the Serbs of Yugoslavia for years. Serb officers and patriots organized the resistance in Croatia. Seeking refuge in the mountains, sheltered by the populations under their protection, the Chetniks fight fire with fire, atrocity with atrocity. Each side in turn visits sudden, violent death on the other. The Chetniks are not just anti-Croat, but also anti-communist. The partisans, too, are their enemies. As elsewhere, the Yugoslav partisans are a loose alliance of communists, nationalists, unaligned resistance, and anti-fascists, forming a huge, powerful army hidden in the mountains. Their leader, Josip Broz, known as Tito, is General Secretary of the Communist Party and has spent the past 20 years in clandestinity. Of working-class origin and part Croat, part Slovene, Tito has formed a National Liberation Council with representatives from every region. His ambition, once the war is over, is to create a federal state that will place Yugoslavia's disparate peoples on an equal footing and allow them to maintain their identities. War comes to an end. King Peter abdicates. Tito's vision prevails, and on November 29, 1945, he becomes the first president of the Republic of Yugoslavia. The state's slogan is Brotherhood, Unity. Reconstruction begins. The settling of accounts, too. Fascists and collaborators are shot. 100,000 Ustashis are executed, but Chetniks die too. Brotherhood and unity in communism is the order of the day. Serbs, Slovenes, and Croats fade into the background. Communists come first, 23 of them in a government of 28 ministers. In 1948, Tito, the only Eastern Bloc leader who owes none of his power to Moscow, breaks with Stalin. A propaganda film shows the leader making his crucial decision. The man of Providence.
More krvi prolili za bratstvo i jedinstvo naših naroda. I nećemo nikome dozvoliti da nam dira ili da nam ruje iznutra da se ruši to bratstvo i jedinstvo. Nijedna naša republika ne bi bila niko i ništa da nismo svi zajedno. A mi moramo stvarati svoju istoriju. Svoju jugoslavensku socijalističku istoriju jedinstvenu.
Cast aside by Stalin, and despite a later rapprochement with Khrushchev, Tito opts for a third way, which he propagates through the non-aligned movement. His greatest innovation, and one which appealed strongly to Western socialists, was workers' self-management. The years passed, but neither Tito's personality nor the veneer of communism, not even trial and imprisonment of its leaders, was able to stem the nationalist advance. In 1974, under popular pressure, Tito amended the Constitution to give greater autonomy to local leaders. In 1980, Tito died at Ljubljana. Like that of his former adversary, Alexander I, Tito's body traveled by train to Belgrade. Crowds thronged by the side of the track to see him pass. Indira Gandhi. Leonid Brezhnev. Margaret Thatcher. Nicolae Ceausescu. Sandro Pertini. Willy Brandt. The emotion is unfeigned. Behind them, a huge crowd is also riven with emotion. They know that the dream is ending and that they must wake to economic crisis, sectorial disputes, and ethnic rivalry. Tito left behind him a country of great complexity, a mosaic of peoples scattered among 6 republics. Each republic had its own local government with a president, and the 6 presidents formed a collective federal presidency, each president in turn serving as head of the Yugoslav state for a year. There were significant differences and inequalities among the republics. Slovenia was well off and relatively homogeneous, with a population 90% Slovene. Serbia comprised 66% Serbs, 20% Albanians, and the 2 autonomous provinces. Vojvodina, in the north, had 56% Serbs, 22% Hungarians, and 7% Croats. And Kosovo, in the south, was home to an 85% population of Albanians with only 10% of Serbs. Kosovo was nevertheless the Serbs' ancestral homeland. In Macedonia, 67% of the population was Macedonian, 20% Albanian. In Montenegro, the proportions were 70% Montenegrin, 6% Albanian, and 13% non-Albanian Muslim. Bosnia-Hercegovina was a particularly even spread, with 33% Serbs, 40% Muslims, and 20% Croats. In Croatia, the Catholic Croats formed a clear majority with 75%, with a 12% minority of Serbs. It was here, in Kosovo, only a few months after the death of Tito, that the first disturbances arose. On April 1st, 1981, a Serbian Orthodox church is set on fire, sparking a wave of demonstrations and riots. The Albanians demand that their province be upgraded to republic status. Their main grievance is high unemployment. More than half of the Albanian population is under 20, and half of the working age population is out of work. A dozen people are killed in the ensuing clampdown. Franjo Tuđman, age 58 at the death of Tito, a Croat and wartime companion of Tito who rose to the rank of general. Twice tried and imprisoned for his nationalist convictions, leader of one of Croatia's nationalist parties. Slobodan Milosevic, 40 at the time of Tito's death, a Serb, rose through the ranks of the Serbian Communist Party. Milan Kucan, a Slovene who also owes his position to his party career. All 3 are to play a major role in the Yugoslav crisis prior to the outbreak of war on June 27, 1991. In Slovenia, by the mid-1980s, the party youth publication Mladina had become a stronghold of pacifist, anti-communist, and ecologist writers, formulating progressive ideas at variance with the ossified conventions of communist society. Their views rapidly reach out to the rest of society, and their influence is widely felt. 4 journalists are arrested and accused of betraying military secrets. On May 24, 1987, Milosevic attends a meeting in Kosovo with Azem Vlasi, the ethnic Albanian local Communist Party chief. For the past 6 months, the Albanian population have been demonstrating for Republican status. Disturbances and rumors have fueled panic and flight among the Serb minority. Milosevic, president of the Serbian Communist Party, has mounted a campaign against the party's old-style leaders and their bureaucratic procedures. He pledges to solve the problems of the Serbs in Kosovo in 2 months.
Ja sam se rukovao sa vama, nisu mi dali poziv. Hajde sa nama. Molim, sa vama da vam kažem sve istinu. Ti toga borca gurali, tukli, bili žene, decu. Ne piti se unutra, između nama baca kameniću, a mi tučeni bili. Druže predsjedniče. Stop sad. Stop sad. Dosta. Treće što vam predlažem, sami održavajte red, nije potrebno da milicija održava red. Predsjedniče! Predsjedniče! Drugovi! Samo da kažem ja! A gdje ćeš ti, bre? Predsjedniče! Mi vas poštujemo kao predsjednika, dogovorili smo se da se vidimo danas, vi ste sami rekli. Vi kao predsjednik, kako možete da dozvolite da se diže palica na ovaj narod?
Mi, dozvolite, molim vas, dozvolite samo da vam kažem. Mi ne palimo, ne lomimo, ne vrištimo, ništa ne radimo. Stojimo i čekamo dalje upućenje, šta ćemo i kako ćemo da čujemo, da znamo.
The Serbs once again claim that the Albanians have been committing rapes, desecrating Orthodox cemeteries, sabotaging crops. Rumors? Facts? No one knows for sure. But feelings are running high among the Serbs of Kosovo. Incidents and demonstrations continue in the following months, here in Kosovo, but spreading also to Vojvodina, where local leaders demand greater autonomy and accuse Milosevic of acting like an imperialist. Milosevic's supporters take to the streets.
Hoćemo da idemo do Novog Sada da vidimo šta misle ovi drugovi funkcioneri. Da li hoće da bude jedinstvena Jugoslavija ili neće? Ili ćemo da je cepamo ili nećemo? Pa smo došli da vidimo sa njima, da porazgovaramo malo u Novi Sad.
Milosevic has supporters in Vojvodina and also in Montenegro, where they take up his slogans.
Izašao sam sa ovom slikom u rukama da jasno pokažem svima. Mi, radnici, se nismo krili za razliku od pojedinih drugova iza zidine i iza prozora. Nama danas ovdje govore da čekamo. Šta da čekamo? Čekali smo godinama. Od 81. godine čekamo smirenje na Kosovu. Ako su gluvi i ako ne žele da čuju, mi ćemo čekati sve do njihovih ostavki.
Se večeras održati sjednica predsjedničkog Krimskog komiteta i da ću ja, iako nisam lopov, iako nisam izdajnik, iako sam radio po svijesti i savjesti, podnijeti ostavku. Prema tome, nemate potrebe da čekate na te ostavke.
It's 1988. And here, as elsewhere in Eastern Europe, popular pressure is sweeping away many of the local leaders. In Belgrade, a plenum of the Party Central Committee opens amid growing tension. Milosevic is arguing that Kosovo and Vojvodina must be placed under central Serbian administration. But his populist methods are giving rise to objections. Azem Vlasi, Albanian communist leader.
S obzirom na ciljeve I neki već poznati organizatora I manipulanata, pojava manipulacija od strane srpskih nacionalista I efekte koje imaju u političkoj javnosti, to nisu ni skupovi zajedništva I kao takvi objektivno štetni.
Pressure from Serb demonstrators leads to the replacement of local leaders in Vojvodina and Montenegro, while at the federal party level, Milosevic gains an advantage by means of manipulating a vote.
A druže Slobodane, to što si ti predložio, razmislite dobro. Razmislite dobro kojim ćete putom ići. Imate potporu, I ti lično. Ali posljedice takvog čina mogu biti u krajnjoj konsekvenciji negativne ne samo za ovaj forum, nego I za Savez komunista Jugoslavije, za vas, drugove iz Srbije I tebe, druže Slobodane.
Belgrade, November 19th. 1.5 million demonstrators turned out for the biggest meeting ever seen here. This was the high point in a series of demonstrations held throughout the country for 4 months. The Serbs demanded Serbian control over the Albanians.
Pobedit ćemo dakle, bez obzira što se I danas kao nekad protiv Srbije udružuju njeni neprijatelji van zemlje sa onima u zemlji. Njima poručujemo da uopšte nismo plašljivi, da u svaku bitku ulazimo. Da u svaku bitku ulazimo sa namerom da je dobijemo.
Milosevic, now 47, appears to be the strongman that Yugoslavia has lacked since the death of Tito. In Kosovo, within hours, and despite the cold and the snow, the Albanians react and begin to demonstrate.
Najveća podrška za to jeste ako ostanete ovako ujedinjeni, bratimljeni iz redova sviju naroda i narodnosti, a nama je posebna podrška ako to zajedništvo vidimo kod omladine i kod inteligencije.
Albanian leader Azim Vlasi is expelled from the Communist Party and arrested soon afterwards. In February 1989, also in Kosovo, 1,300 miners stage a sit-in at the coalface, 3,000 feet below the surface, demanding the resignation of the political leaders who they say are selling out the cause of the Albanians.
Konkretno tražim, neću mnogo da se državamo, mi tražimo ostavke naša predsjednik pokrajinskog komiteta druga Ramon Morinu, koji radnička klasa nema povjerenja na njega i ne može on da živi između nas, koji je malo pre bio gore i dao nam obećanje i nije ispunio to. I mi nismo izabrali. Ne znam ko je izabrali. To može samo gospodin Milošević da izabrali.
Kako će pokušati silom da vas izvadi iz ruke?
To može, to samo mrtvi može da izađemo to. Dok ne daju ovi drugovi ostavke, 1500 rudari ovdje smo, svi hoćemo da crkvimo ovdje.
Za ovo dana, već danas 4. dan kako smo u ovoj dubini zemlji, nikakvog kontakta sa familijom, niti ne znamo za njih.